Newer donors usually do not operate through the more open and more transparent consultative mechanisms set by our government or under OECD, DAC guideline and Paris Declaration on Effectiveness. Often, Cambodia does not have as much experience dealing with them as does with traditional development partners, such as the multilateral organizations like ADB, World Bank, UN organizations, or EU, or bilateral like USAID, Japan, GTZ, AFD, USAID, USA before, DADIDA. So there's a need to be learned from both sides. In the area of aid for trade, our challenge is to bring those new development partners more explicitly into our established aid coordination mechanism, especially on our trade swap, to increase aid effectiveness from them. I imagine this challenge is not unique to Cambodia, but shared by other LDCs from our region. In ASEAN as a whole, we have 3 LDCs. Out from the 10 countries, we have Cambodia is LDC, Laos LDCs, and Myanmar is LDCs. With this last word, Mr. Chairman, I would like to conclude my remarks and would like to thank ITCSD again for this opportunity to share the Cambodian experience with all of you. Thank you so much.
Excellency, thank you very much for a comprehensive presentation. At the end, I'll try to summarize some of the key things that I think may have emerged from the overall presentations, but let me mention 3 or 4 things that have come through from this presentation which resonate very strongly with presentations that have already been made. The value of very careful national planning for regional trade and integration, and clearly the results that come from careful planning. The speed at which results actually come, and I think this tallies very well with the earlier presentation by Sushak Katima, indicating that in a very, very short time, coordination at a regional level can derive enormous results. We saw it with the road network in the earlier presentation, and here we see a similar experience with Cambodia, just focusing very clearly on specific export sectors and rapidly expanding exports in just literally 2 or 3 years through careful strategizing. Then the specific mechanics of building South-South cooperation. I think we heard a little more about that in earlier presentations. The theme of learning from others, which Mustafa Sahin raised in the experience of Turkey's development of its own cooperation development agency. And then now this challenge of bringing in new development partners and the opportunities that are there, but also the challenges that are there in integrating that process. So we're building up quite a valuable body of insights on the partnership issues already. Thank you for that presentation, Excellency. We now move to the next presentation by George Mavrotas, Chief Economist of the Global Development Network.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure for me to be here on behalf of the Global Development Network. I want to thank the organizers and also the City Development Center for inviting me. It's a great pleasure to be in this wonderful city and wonderful country and contribute to this very important symposium. Well, I think this is indeed a very important symposium on least developed countries in the aftermath of the global financial crisis, which affected, of course, as we know, almost everything and everyone. Indeed, the recent global financial crisis, apart from its far-reaching implications for the developing world, including, of course, the most vulnerable to external shocks, LDCs, and those living in extreme poverty, the 1.4 billion, according to recent poverty estimates, sent also the signal for scrutinizing sound for many years macroeconomic theories and policies and the much praised for a long time efficient markets hypothesis and related financial markets models. Indeed, if I'm allowed to say that, one of the positive implications, so to speak, of the recent financial crisis is that it offers an opportunity to reinvent economic thought. We really need innovative ideas and a fresh look on a broad range of development issues more than ever in the aftermath of the financial crisis. And of course, in the age of instability we all live, a research and policy area where more than anywhere else we need to take a fresh look and explore new ideas is development finance. Broadly defined to include not just foreign aid and other external capital flows, but also domestic resource mobilization and financial sector development. In this context, it is not surprising that the global financial architecture is currently, again, surprise, surprise, under scrutiny, and the whole development finance system, or non-system, to use a term that Helmut and I actually used in a quite interesting paper, I have to say, we presented in Berlin 4 years back, quite timely right now in a different context, is being now re-examined. Yes, exactly. Of great relevance to the above is also the theme of this session, namely improving the overall partnership between emerging economies and LDCs. In other words, going beyond the conventional South-South cooperation. In my very limited time, and in order to allow more time for discussion afterwards, I would like to approach this issue from the angle of development aid, but also through the overall interaction of development aid with FDI, an issue that was touched, I would say, by one of the speakers earlier, and domestic resource mobilization and financial sector development in the overall context of South-South cooperation. On aid issues, I think we all agree, I guess in this room, that foreign aid is one of the few topics in the development discourse with such an uninterrupted and volatile history in terms of interest and attention from academics, policymakers, and practitioners alike. Of course, the context in which we discuss foreign aid in recent years is dramatically different. It is fair, I think, to argue that we know now more about the macroeconomic impact of aid since we now have better data available on aid, thanks to the OECD-DAC efforts on that front. We have been able to use better methodology and econometrics to delve deeper into aid effectiveness issues, and also we have been able to draw carefully on some, but not all, on some of the lessons emanating from recent empirical work on aid effectiveness. What are these messages emanating from this work? I would say a key message emanating from recent work is that it is not sufficient to scale up aid efforts by just raising and transferring just more money. And we have a lot of evidence towards that direction. Also, at least part of the blame for not making a lot of progress with the Millennium Development Goals, and in particular in the case of LDCs, so far falls on insufficient targeting of sector-specific aid. In this context, unless aid is better targeted, scaling up aid is unlikely to have the desired effects. Furthermore, the so-called big push and absorptive capacity approaches cannot be reconciled without a reform on the aid architecture associated with recent calls for increasing more aid and the rest. This also supports, of course, Maxwell, who earlier, I would say 2002, suggested a long time ago that it would be a missed opportunity to increase aid without considering the apparatus for delivering such large amounts of money. There's a lot of discussion right now regarding these issues, and of course this is also related to South-South cooperation, so I think it's very important for us to reflect on this. Needless to say, of course, fiscal response issues, in other words, how the aid recipient country responds in the presence of aid. We have a very interesting part of aid literature in recent years focusing on this crucial issue. Issues related to the volatility and unpredictability of aid, of great relevance, of course, to LDCs, which are particularly vulnerable to external shocks, and thus crucially dependent on stable and predictable aid flows. And also work on aid heterogeneity. In other words, different types of aid have different impacts, thus focusing on total aid is quite misleading, are becoming quite timely now in view of the need to make further progress on the aid effectiveness front in a post-crisis world. Let me say a few things regarding the interaction of aid with FDI, domestic resource mobilization, and the rest. Certainly, development aid cannot deliver on its own without considering also the linkages with other capital flows and domestic resource mobilization. In this regard, there is clear need to do further work on the nexus between FDI and aid, see aid as a catalyst in this case, an area which has not received much attention, I would say, in recent work. Policy, of course, coherence issues of great importance in this case. Need also to consider the linkages between aid and domestic resource mobilization. Are aid and domestic resource mobilization complements or substitutes? I think we need to do more work on this. Since DRM is a mechanism, according to many, to reduce aid dependence in the long run. And of course, we need to delve deeper on domestic resource mobilization and financial sector development issues in LDCs. In this context, let me say a few more words. Overall, we have only, I have to say, a limited understanding of the challenge to which the financial sector affects investment behavior, its effects on savings rates, and the interaction between domestic financial flows and external financial flows. Needless to say, of course, this is a crucial issue in a post-crisis world, and in view of the need to accelerate further progress with MDGs and to encourage the flow of private capital to LDCs and its effective use for investment and pro-poor development. It is also fair to argue that while the important link between financial development and growth has been explored for many years, recently the research attention has focused on the follow-up link between financial development and poverty reduction. This has occurred especially since recent developments in international development theory and practice have re-established poverty reduction as a central goal of development efforts, quite rightly to me. In this context, therefore, it is crucial to shed light on the channels through which financial development can promote poverty reduction. On top of the important, more indirect link through the promotion of economic growth, one can think of trying to make financial development more pro-poor in a direct way and make the economic growth resulting from it more pro-poor. Promising work in this area seems to confirm the extreme importance of strengthening the link between financial development and poverty reduction, and as such, it is indeed extremely useful to have more in-depth analysis of the issue, including more individual country case studies and work that details the extract transmission mechanisms through which financial development can enhance pro-poor development in LDCs in order to derive best practices in this field. Also, it's very important to look a bit further on what I call TA for RA, Technical Assistance for Revenue Authority, and the importance for building institutional capacity for revenue mobilization in countries receiving aid. We don't know much about this, and we need to do more about this. Crucial also to delve deeper into the channels through which aid may reach the poor. Also on the overall nexus between aid, institutions, and social capital. Last but certainly not least, further work is also required regarding the aid allocation criteria, an area that has received much attention in recent years. Of relevance, of course, here is the focus on vulnerability issues, an area on which Patrick Guimond in the afternoon, I'm sure, is going to talk a bit further, and on which he has made a very important contribution recently with his excellent book on LDCs caught in a trap, and his recent papers on vulnerability issues. Finally, on the South-South cooperation, the recent developments on that front, recent years have witnessed the emergence of new aid donors from the South, a development that has important implications for the future of development aid. Of relevance, of course, here is the recent high-level